From the southern studios of Way Happy, this is Mr. Meyer, and we are doing P5, solving equations graphically, numerically, and algebraically. And what will we do? We will graph, we will solve quadratics, and we can even approximate using our calculator or Desmos, or get the exact answers, in fact, using Desmos. Well, for the most part, not always the exact answer. So here we go. Let's solve number one by finding x-intercept. So there you have a quadratic equation. Now remember, from Algebra 2, there's ways to solve it. You could factor, you could complete the square, you could quadratic formula, or you could solve it by graphing the equation. So what I did was I fired up Desmos and I typed it in. There you go, the first one, the red one. And there it is. And the solution for when this equation equals 0 is, kind of think about what you got here. You got an equation, and what I did was I changed this to y, right? And so I have y equals when I graph it. Well, I want to know when y is 0. So when y is 0, if you go over here and look at the graph, y is 0 is right there at that point, and right there at that point. Notice the y's are zeros, and the x's are 2 and negative a half. And therefore, I'm done. I have just solved the equation. X would be 2, and x would be negative a half. So now, you're like, wow, that was really nice. Same thing would have happened if we factored, and it would have been beautiful. And you can try that by factoring if you want. I should also probably do it once on the TI, so bear with me as I fire up the TI calculator here. But what would happen when you do this on your TI is, I forgot what the equation was, 2x squared. So I hit y equals, and I do 2x squared minus 3x minus 2, and then that already said y equals. So then I can hit graph, and you can zoom. Look at my window's a little messed up. You can zoom around. Maybe you can read it right off the graph. Looks like negative a half and 2. That's awesome. I can do a function here. If I click on the calculator, all I have to do is look for the calculate feature. So right there, calculate, second calc. I can find the zeros. Remember, these are also called zeros. And I go a little bit to the left of it, so we know the zero is, right there. I'm going to go a little to the left of it using the left arrow, hit enter. Go a little to the right of it using the right arrow, in other words, going kind of above it. And then you hit enter on your guess, and it'll tell you it's right there at 2, 0. And you do it for the other side also. So there's two ways by graphing that you can do, both Desmos and your calculator. Now here's just me reminding you that you have quadratic formula and completing the square. Maybe I'll do this one by, that looks pretty ugly for completing the square, so I think I'll do that, right? Quadratic formula, you would just know that for quadratic formula people, this is A, this is B, and this is C, and you would just plug it into the formula, and you shall get the same answer that we have. And let's see. So notice the big trick on completing the square, you cannot have anything in front of x squared. So I need to divide everybody by 2, and that's already going to make a lot of us cringe. So that's x squared plus 3 over 2x minus 5 over 2. But I'm going to move that 5 over 2 to the other side, if you don't mind, because I want to complete the square now. Completing the square is a piece of cake. It's half the middle number. So 3 over 2 times a half. That's just 3 over 4. You just multiply top by 1, bottom by 2. So 3 over 4. Then you got to square it. So 9 over 16. And you will add 9/16 to both sides. Now, most people will think that looks hideous. However, this side factors to x plus half the middle number, or x plus 3 over 4. So it's factored, equals, now here's the hardest part probably, adding those two fractions together. Need a common denominator, so I'm going to give this an 8 and an 8 on top and bottom. So is that 49/16? Holy macaroni. So 49/16, but that's actually going to turn out nice for us. Because now that you got that, square root it on both sides. X plus 3/4 equals plus or minus the square root of 49/16, which I bet you happen to know. Do one at a time, right? 7/4. So that's x plus 3/4 equals plus or minus 7/4. Move the 3/4 over. Negative 3/4 plus or minus 7/4. And you jump up and down. You have found your answers. In fact, this one's so nice I could actually find the answers. Negative 3 plus 7 is 4 over 4, which is 1. And negative 3 minus 7 is negative 10 over 4, which is what? 2 and 2/4, so negative 2.5. And there are your two answers. Beautiful. You should get the same thing with quadratic formula. Try it if you like. And there you go. So why don't I give you a quick question? Oh, heck, let's just go on. We're almost done. Let's solve by graphing. So again, and using intersections, I'm going to open up Desmos. I'm going to hide this one. I wrote y equals 6 and y equals root 2. And by the way, this is a big trick that I don't think a lot of people know with graphing calculators and stuff. That's why we can't let you use a graphing calculator on the final half the time, because you could just answer every math problem this way. You do the left side into one equation. You do the right side into another equation. You graph them, and you see what x values they intersect at. And those are your answers. So one answer is 3.5, and one answer is negative 2.5. And you've just solved a very difficult problem. And so that's what's so nice about Graphing Calculator. I could do that. It's also very nice to use Desmos. And so 3.5 and negative 2.5 are our answers. And I'm done. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Stay happy.